got a book of matches, I've got a can of kerosene, I got some bad ideas involving you and me. I don't blame you for walking away. I touch myself at thoughts of flames. I shat the bed, I laid there in it, thinking of you, wide awake for days, wide awake for days. And I found you tongue-tied in my twisted little brain. You couldn't crack a smile, I didn't catch your name. I don't blame you for walking away. I'd do the same if I saw me. I swear it's not contagious, and for short steps we can erase this. Step one, slit my throat. Step two, blame my blood. Step three, cover me in dirty sheets and run laughing out of the house. Step four, stop off at Edgebrook Creek and rinse your crimson hands. You took me hostage, you made your demands. I couldn't meet him, so you cut off my fingers one by one. One by one. I'm like a broken record, I've got a needle scratching me. It injects the poisons of alcohol I be. I don't blame you for walking away. I'd do the same if I saw me. I swear it's not contagious, swear to God it's not contagious. Step one, slit my throat. Step two, blade my blood. Step three, cover me in dirty sheets and run laughing out of the house. Step four, stop at Lake Michigan and rinse your crimson hands. You took me hostage, you made your demands. I couldn't meet him, so you cut off my fingers one by one. This could be love, love for fire. This could be love, love for fire. This could be love for fire forevermore. Step one, slit my throat. Step two, blade my blood. Step three, cover me in dirty sheets and run laughing out of the house. Step four, stop at Berkeley Marina, rinse your crimson hands. You took me hostage, you made your demands. I couldn't meet him, so you cut off my fingers one by one. One by one.
Oh, hey there. Didn't notice you. Welcome to another BANGover podcast, album anniversary, history breakdown, album review, birthday party. I'm getting there.
I think birthday party might actually be a good
Hey, my birthday's in 10 days.
birthday.
We're not talking about you. We're talking about
just saying,
Alkaline Trio's
album.
birthday.
This is
birthday.
also a birthday party. It's all encompassing.
And
I like that.
more specifically, Alkaline Trio's album, Good Morning.
with a U.
With the you.
Yeah.
This is the BANGover podcast. Oh, yeah. I could do that all day, man. I could have done it. I could have been at Warped Tour every year. But I chose a different path. That's my fault. Well, let's go around the table and introduce ourselves. I'm Scott Allen. As always, Chris Myers,
Howdy
producer.
Howdy, dude.
And superfan Bria Bill.
Bria Bill, super fan of this band.
Super
sure.
fan. Chris, do you think we would have done this album if not for Bria?
She brought it to the table.
So
I
no.
Great.
I wouldn't have caught my. It slipped under my radar.
I was gonna
as
say,
far
it
as-
just flew
What's
under
even
there.
on the list?
as far as like albums on the lists. You know, there's a lot of albums though. I mean,
Come on, you got to think this
Yes.
podcast could last forever.
yeah.
I mean, for God's sakes,
Yeah,
the
you
episodes
start
are
diving into.
in this.
Yeah.
So, a little change in pace in what we normally do. We've kind of been here in some ways when we talk about some bands in the hardcore scene and how like this kind of made the pop punk realm. Bria, would you call this a post hardcore punk, or is it what's another word? Easy core.
They're defined as pop punk, punk, or emo, but I mean, personally, I wouldn't describe them as that. I think that they kind of like toe the line of, you can see a lot of new wave influences with them, especially lyrically. And to me, like they are punk, but a lot of people are like, now they're pop punk because of the way that they sound.
And I'm just going to go out on a limb here and just really a shout out to the rhythm section in this band, because they really make it like the punk. They bring the punk rock attitude. The drums, insane. What a great fucking drummer. And that bass player, like the loudest thing in the mix is that bass. I'm not a fan of this style of music, but like we were saying, we wanted to get kind of outside the box and maybe do something new.
You're welcome.
So the best things about this album for me was the rhythm section for sure, and the way the band worked, and another just powerful a trio, a 3-man band, if you will, and always the most destructive out of any of the bands around them. Everyone got 4 members, 5 members, but for some reason the 3-piece one just has to destroy harder than anything else. I don't know why. I think just when you have less instruments, you're able to play that one instrument that you have to the fullest extent, because there's nothing else you're covering up. There's no piano player, there's no second guitar. There's just 2 singers, a guitar player, bass, and drums. So everyone's just like excellent at what they do in some ways, in my opinion. Again, this is all just based on how I kind of feel when I listen to music, and I can't. We'll start this off as like the first time you heard Alkaline Trio, and I will tell you, when I first started dating you, and that's
He's pointing to me, not Chris.
I was actually pointing to Jack. I think I heard of them in the background. I know I've seen that symbol. They are one of the bands. If none of the listeners know, just Google Alkaline Trio and press images, and you'll see their little logo, which just any fan or anyone in that time of growing up around this scene, even if you were a skateboarder, Chris, and you would have seen that logo somewhere on a shirt, anywhere, and fans know Alkaline Trio when they see that. It's one of those like top 20 like band tattoos that you see on people. People get that tattoo a lot. Very clever coming up with that idea of a heart or whatever it was, but
the
it just
days of the logos.
a cool stamp.
Yeah. Their logo, for all of you who don't know what it looks like, is a heart with a little skull, and the heart ends in an arrow. And a lot of people have that tattoo because they were one of the bands that said, if you get our tattoo, then you can get into our shows for free. So many people got that tattoo that they had
You can
to
get it
stop
really
doing
small
that.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just get it like the size of a quarter.
Yeah. I've
And
literally
if you're
seen
covered
it
in
the size
tattoos,
of like a dime.
fuck it, add it in the mix.
Yeah.
Chris, I'm gonna go on a limb and say, skate video. How you first heard of
more
Alkaline
like,
Trio?
I think it was just through like Vans Warped Tour, like walking through there, you could hear bands, and then also they had like samplers. You'd walk through and you'd get free CDs, and they would have samplers of all the bands that are on the tour. So it was like, that would probably be my first, I don't know what song, but that would be my first me coming into contact with the band as far as seeing the name and even hearing referencing of their music. I do recall the second song on the album, We've Had Enough. That song I have heard through some sort of means. I can't recall exactly what, but yeah, some sort of pop culture, skate video, movie.
There's a Warped Tour compilation too.
Yeah. So something like that probably is where I've heard it, where the band has come into my radar through just me seeking stuff and them just being on those like sampler platters or whatever, you know.
And I think it might be mainly because it's like, oh, Alkaline Trio did a song with Keith Moore. So, like, you're going to get that on a compilation, you know.
Yeah.
Because that's like,
Well, that's
oh,
the
cool.
song.
You
Yeah,
know,
Keith
that's old
Morris
school.
is singing
Yeah.
on that song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those
And-
backing vocals. You can totally tell. I was like, yep, that's him. Found it.
At that time too, you know, it was the sampler thing, but like you know, like Vagrant or something would have like a
There's their compilations.
yeah,
their
like
sampler
a
CDs. Yeah,
Vagrant.
that's
Oh my
Here's
God.
where you
yeah.
Yeah, binders full of them. This particular genre of music did a lot of that, like compilation, little skate mix play when you put this on when you skateboard, you know?
This genre
Stuff like that.
definitely
Yeah.
did, I think, succeed in a lot of ways because of that, whereas other genres really didn't utilize that.
Right.
So maybe like hip hop did, whereas like you have the mixtape where it's like a bunch of different artists and songs and you get a collaboration or something.
Right.
But then that's like with the punk sampler, it's like kind of going back to the tape roots where it's like a tape of just random stuff, but now it's like a CD in this day and age.
It was in the hope of discovering bands.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's I still own a lot of those samplers.
Oh my
yeah.
God, yeah. And for pretty much what it was like in metal was like the actual record company would put out their compilation album. It wasn't just like a random mix like Slayer, and we also have like fucking I don't know, Ministry or something. You know, it's like it had to be all under the sun because of legal rights. But this was like bands just coming up, all these indie labels willing to share with other indie labels to just benefit everyone in this case, you know? And it really comes from where this style of music comes from is, you know, the skate punk. You know, if we just bring it down to like the 90s, you know, skate punk was huge and it was creating this new sound in punk. Because we already were done with like the whole, you know, someone was saying, we listened to another podcast, No Dogs in Space, shout out to them. And they were saying how like that whole Sid and Nancy thing, was it, right? That when that murder happened, that punk rock died and then something new evolved out of that. So the old ways of punk are dead and gone. So we're like in the early 90s, and where we're going to go to next is, you know.
Yeah, I could discuss that forever.
I mean, and I love some hardcore bands. It really has motivated other styles because like a lot of bands that were in this time frame that didn't get the big acclaim, critically acclaimed success as maybe something like Alkaline Trio, but definitely something more so like Green Day or Blink-182, that they kind of like after this whole scene kind of inflated itself and popped, they went on to create these like crazy metal bands, you know, and using their technicality in the way that to write a catchy song, but being more technical, like in a metal way, because that's what you can do in that genre. So it's very interesting. There's a lot of stuff here, you know, and this really just all explodes from the episode that we did prior about At the Drive-In and how it was like, oh, let's start signing all these fucking bands. You know what I mean? But, you know, Green Day was already a thing at that point, and so was Blink-182, but
So
still in a different style.
Should I say how I first discovered them?
Yes, please.
I was just including it. So
I totally forgot. I'm so sorry.
that's okay.
I'm not good at podcasting.
Don't say that. No, I just a small story. I was 12 years old, about to be 13, and I was sitting on my bed with my dad bought me a early birthday present, a new CD player that I could also listen to the radio off of, which was
Fancy.
fucking sweet.
Fancy
I still
CD
have
player.
it, purple and black.
How big was it? Besides that laptop?
It was, I don't know. It was pretty big. But I was listening to the radio, and the song that we just listened to, This Could Be Love, came on. And I immediately, as I've kind of mentioned before, really, and we've talked about how you discover a sound and you want that sound to continue. You want to listen to bands like that. And also the lyrics in the song I really loved, and Matt Skiba would later on become a big influence to me with writing and lyrics in general. So that was the song. That's why Alkaline Trio is so important to me. Is they really kind of defined a big part of my life.
And you being a fan of The Cure, I definitely hear a lot of The Cure in Alkaline Trio.
Yeah, Matt Skiba's...
Again, the only thing that makes this punk rock is the drums.
Matt Skiba's the lead singer, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that, but one of the lead singers. But he's also a huge fan of The Cure.
Break it down for us. Who's the bandmates?
Okay, so Matt Skiba, there's two lead singers. Matt Skiba is the lead guitarist and lead singer, and then you have Dan Andriano, who is the bass player and other lead singer. And then you have Derek Grant, who is the
Drummer.
most current drummer. Yeah.
So, just so everyone knows, their names and titleship. Three-piece, very easy. Members have not changed too much. Two
No.
other drummers, one other bass player for a very small amount of time. But pretty much been the same. These guys just work well together. Just pumping out albums, and we looked on the Spotify. Chris, I didn't know if you noticed this, but on Spotify, they have literally played every single album they have in their catalog live. Every single one.
Oh, really?
They went on a tour
Every single
where
one.
they did.
I was like, you
they played it
clever
all
sons of
live,
bitches.
recorded it, and released it. Apart from their newest album,
Right.
But previous, all their albums are. You can listen to them live because they went on a specific tour. I think it was only like 4 or 5 dates where they did all their albums and recorded
Pretty
them
clever.
live. Yeah,
That's cool.
And them.
it's called Past Life.
Yeah, I watched videos of them performing live. I just wanted to see how well or what they sound like live compared to the albums. Dead on to the albums, just like fucking immaculate. But that being said, they're not doing mathcore over here. They're not fucking configuring how music works from here on out. They're just kind of sticking where they're comfortable with, and those songs just flow naturally, to them for sure. So again, I just can't. I tried it's the vocals that get me every time.
That's okay.
But
We're all
I'm
music
being
fans.
open-minded.
Yeah.
We're doing the episode. I mean, it might not be, up on the channel, but we're doing it for your will. No, I'm joking.
Aw. Yeah, but then you might have somebody out there that listens to this that's like, hey, I really
Chris.
like that band, and fuck you, Scott.
Hit stop on the recording.
you.
Don't waste the space. I'm joking. This band's awesome. That's what we're talking about.
They're good musicians. You have to give
Very
them that.
good.
Especially you being
Especially
a
the
drummer,
drummer.
you have to, I was going to say,
Yeah.
you have to appreciate
Guy slays me.
Grant's. Yeah.
Can't even.
So
He fucking, one of his fill-in guys is Josh Freese. That's one of my favorite drummers. They just like bounce gigs off of each other. What the fuck?
So at some point they started all playing, kind of all singing, and Matt did play bass too, and Dan also played
They've
guitar.
all switched
so they all
around.
just kind of like switched
Originally,
around.
I know
actually,
the drummer plays guitar as
so,
well. I'm like,
Yeah.
so
yeah,
originally,
Yeah.
Matt Skiba was
they're
drumming.
all very good.
Matt Skiba was a drummer first. And
Makes
then,
sense.
Yeah, but that was like before
Most
he did
singers
Alkaline Trio.
usually are. It's weird. They're
Yeah.
just like, listen, kid, you're okay at the drums, but I think you're just gonna be a little bit better.
He also
here."
plays piano.
But you gotta understand, drums, and then you get the better understanding of like everything else. Playing guitar. If you play it all, you understand it all.
Yeah.
Very easy to write that way.
I'm sure they could all still successfully switch around and be fine.
Yeah, no shit.
They're all great musicians.
It makes me a little bit jealous, but hence why they are a band that has so many albums that people have heard about them, and to this day is very like cult classic, because kind of what kills every scene, no big fucking mystery here, is because music is for kids, and when kids grow up, their lives change, and that music doesn't condone in their change. It's like, oh, this is what I listened to in my 20s. By the time you're 30, you're thinking about whatever the fuck else, but not that whole scene of music. We all have our early music that we loved, but it's not something that we like keep going back to. It's like my everyday life. I listen to like new metal. No, you know what I mean? So it's just people grow up, and then the scene dies, and then something new gets started because now there's new kids.
Well,
It's just an ever-changing cycle. That's why they always say 10 years, because it's like 10 years, snap it off, kids grow up, blah, blah, blah. So now everyone's 30 or 40, let's just say like maybe 40, getting close to there. These bands can come back and like sell out arenas because
Yeah.
of nostalgic purposes.
If I can
you know
touch
what I
on
mean?
that, yeah, that's kind of
Especially if the lineup's right.
something
Fuck.
I've talked about before. Is like I consider myself like a second generation Alkaline Trio fan because they started out in 1996, and I know people who are, 5+ years older than me that had already been listening to them, and they formed like this cult following. Like, again, with the symbol, and like they were kind of like this darker, poppier punk sound as opposed to like a lighter feel. And all the fans that I know that are older than me, they're still fans. Like, there's nobody that I've ever met that's like a little older than me that loves them that's like, no, I don't like them anymore. They still go see him every time. So good for them for creating that fan base.
I have friends that I had no idea that were into this stuff. He's like, yeah, man, I love that band. But it was like, you didn't know me when I was 20. You know what I mean? It's like, they still resonate with me in some ways. I'm not going out of my way to like pop in an Alkaline Trio album.
Yeah, you had to start earlier.
Yeah. I'm already too far past, to like have that. When I was younger, I just fucking watching MTV and I was like, fucking.
They saved that place in your heart when you were a kid.
I fucking hate all that new black metal that was coming out. I just hated.
Yeah.
I loved a handful of stuff and everything else sucked. But you kind of got to see where like things land. It takes time to really see if it holds up. And how it ages. And that's really defines what is a great album or a great song. Yeah, this song's popular now. Maybe it's popular for 10 years, but think about 40 years. Is it still going to be that popular in 40 years? It's going to be like people look back and they're like, that's a classic, You got to kind of think about it like that. So a band like this, being from 96, is still very, let's say, like young. In the terms of legendary rock, you know what I mean? Because it's like 50 years when it comes to like bands like Judas Priest or Led Zeppelin, where like that, there's a lot to unpack. But this, fairly still young. We're going to say what? Doing the math, like 24 years of a band?
1996?
Yeah. Yeah, so about 24 years. That's not even that long for a band, 30 years, 30 years is a big marker. As we've seen time and time again on doing episodes, it just seems like it kind of works that way, But, yeah, I still don't like it.
Well, that's fine. You don't have to.
Right. Do we want to get into another song? Or, Chris, did you have some fun facts? Or are we saving?
We can get into the next section of all that.
Really quick, this next song is called We've Had Enough, and as we were kind of talking about before, Keith Morris of the Circle Jerks and the original singer for Black Flag does backing vocals on this.
Off.
Okay, and off. And how the whole thing started was with him doing backing vocals. So this was Matt Skiba was playing Warped Tour, and Alkaline Trio was. He noticed though that Keith Morris was wearing an Alkaline Trio shirt on stage when he went up. And so he asked Keith Morris if he wanted to be a part of a song. And
the rest is history.
Yeah, the rest is right here on this next song. What's it called again?
We've Had Enough.
I'm not going to remember that.
It's okay.
I think I've had enough.
In the shadows where the heads hang low, you hear voices as the wind blows, asking, can't you see? Reminding you to breathe, it's only time before it catches up to you and all your broken luck. I found a better way to get even with my memory. In the darkness where the angels cry, give us water, give us back our lives. Our beds, this concrete floor, and it's all we have left to live for a day we'll never face. We're only second-handed, sick and lonely, fighting back the tears. And every inch of BANGover Productions that said we've had enough. Please turn that fucking radio off. Ain't nothing on the airwave in the despair we feel. No!
definitely my favorite song off the album. Definitely. I think I just like it because it's nonstop. It just
It's the
keeps
hardest hitting
going.
one.
Yeah, it just keeps on rolling. It's very simple, straightforward. But yeah, did everyone hear Keith Morris in the background doing those backup vocals?
Yeah, he says
Definitely
we've had
sounded
enough
like him.
in the background. And
Yeah.
just to keep track, the first two songs that we've played, it's both Matt Skiba. He's the lead singer.
Just
and,
keeping track.
And
All right.
well, they have very
Unless
different
someone is.
voices, and you'll hear Dan Andriano on a song we'll play later.
Sure. I like the idea of like two singers, two voices. It's very, what's the word, predominant in this genre of music. You know,
They both have very different voices.
maybe I'm
very
wrong
different
on this, but
ranges.
in Blink-182, that's usually the case
And
as
Matt
well. They
Skiba
both
is-
sing. Oh, that's a fun fact.
Okay,
that
so
you're
speaking
using.
of Blink-182, yeah, Matt Skiba is now
If you
the
didn't
Tom
know,
DeLonge of Blink-182.
and
really?
if you didn't
Yeah.
know,
That's cool.
yeah,
Yeah,
and if
the
you
last two
didn't know,
albums.
no,
Yeah, he's
That's cool.
Yeah, you
yeah,
didn't
he's
realize
the
that?
other lead singer now.
this guy's
with
fucking
Mark
rich.
Hoppus.
This guy's fucking loaded now, dude. He's getting fucking, I don't even know how much for a show.
They're all good friends.
Got
Yeah.
Blink 182 money.
That's fucking big money, dude. I think they were all like, we looked up their net worth, Blink-182, and it was all like across the board, like 75
Well,
million
dude, you
or
know
something
they
like that.
I
Net
don't
worth.
know about all of them, but they probably all. I don't know. What's his name? Can't like fly, right?
Well, you know, there's
So,
good
like,
reason.
But I know, but that
If
just
you
his
didn't
travel-
know-
Barker.
his travel expenses like shot up. I like remember hearing a podcast like with him on it. He's like, yeah, I don't
Joe
fly,
Rogan's.
yeah, something like that. So it's
Yeah.
like,
He doesn't fly because he got in a
And
plane
if
crash.
you
so it's
didn't
like
know,
you gotta drive him everywhere
yeah,
or take a boat.
or
he
take.
is a little paranoid about it.
Well, he got in a plane crash.
Yeah, we all know, but this is not Blink-182 episode.
Anyway,
It could be
Well, just it could very well turn into
because it could. There's a lot of crisscrossing
yeah.
over here.
Yeah, there is.
So.
Well, just to finish that off, Tom DeLonge left Blink-182 to chase aliens around the U.S. with
Yep.
government money. Just
be a Scientologist.
he's a Scientologist too, and he's chasing aliens.
Thought he was a Scientologist.
I don't know about the Scientology.
No, Tom
but he
DeLonge is a fucking
Just a
UFO.
crazy
it would not-
alien
it would-
believer?
Hold on,
I totally
hold on.
thought he was. Maybe not. Maybe I'm
UFO
wrong. Maybe I'm getting
researcher.
shit confused. Is that what he is?
Yeah.
I thought he went
He's
a
a
little nuts.
UFO. No, he actually gets government funding for like his UFO research, and like they were saying, shout out
okay,
to the last
but
podcast
you-
on the left. They were saying like he's just out there
Yeah, but
frivolously
you have to
throwing
be a little
money
crazy to
and
leave
fucking- Everyone's kind of a little
Blink-182
pissed about it.
to pursue aliens.
Well, they were saying like he would like look out the window when they were like on tour, like you know, in the van late at night. He was like, "It's something out there, dude. I'm gonna chase it one day."
my God.
It's my dream.
Anyway.
My dream is to be in space, dude. But you know, what's his face got the job? What's his name again?
Matt Skiba.
well,
Matt Skiba.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Good for him.
crisscross between
Congratulations.
Alkaline Trio and Blink 182. They have the same parent company record label, BMG.
Holy shit.
So that kind of.
That makes sense.
Matt Skiba
They're
also
working
helped with Famous Stars and Straps, the clothing brand.
and the producer on this album, which his name is
Jerry Finn,
Jerry Finn.
co producer.
If you didn't know, everything.
Yeah, he's kind of like responsible for the whole scene as you were
We always talk
calling
yeah.
it, Blink 182, AFI, Sum 41, Alkaline Trio, Green Day, Morrissey, MXPX, Rancid.
He's one of the five,
All of
man.
them.
He's
So
one of the five
all-
producers
yeah.
that literally have done everything you've ever loved.
Yeah.
Put him in there.
So, and he, he's done a lot of stuff, kind of growing up doing that stuff.
Even backing vocals on this album.
He started, he did the Green Day debut album, Dookie. So he was
son
the
of a
assistant
bitch.
right hand on that album. So he kind of, has been in it since the beginning as far as like the scene, that scene of this kind of 90s, early 2000s pop punk, skate punk kind of Renaissance era that
Yeah,
happens.
he had the ear for it. He knew exactly the formula and just taking band after band and just shaping them to be, that band. And that being said, a lot of this stuff is very incestual. So some of it kind of sounds the same, but the bands you just listed off, all very unique to each other. You know what I mean? from 741 having a way different sound from
Yeah.
Alkaline Trio.
But they all yes, but also kind
Also
of
from
that.
that same
but
era.
it's-
It's
time-wise.
not. Their styles are different. The sound is the same. Like
Yeah.
the way it's played through the headphones. Man, I had my fucking phone cranked, not loud at all. I switched over to like a Simple Tourist song, had to turn it down. I was like, yeah, damn, you know. So it's kind of like it's so loud, but no matter how high you turn up the volume, it's almost like well balanced across the board when it comes to the way it sounds on the record. And that guy had the ear for it, man. He like knew exactly what it needed to sound like.
Yeah, he did all those Blink-182 albums. He also did some 41's All Killer No Filler, which is like
Nice.
their kind of
Yeah.
That's the one.
their album. But like to that point of like the sound that he was a part, like let's say responsible for. He had like all these different recording techniques. So like recording the guitars, he would record multiple amps at once. So instead of going back and doing doubles where it's like an alternate performance, it would just be you play once, but I'm recording it through like 3 or 4 different amps at the same time. And then I'm going to go blend them all together in post and find the right sound.
Genius.
So that's that sort of, different approach that he was taking to it, and then would, take him forever to mix, according to Blink-182, and they're, working with him, it would take him like 10 to 12 days to do an album, because he'd be to do rough mixes and stuff, because he'd be really in there meticulously getting the sound. And then even for drums, he was a big fan of like the room mics. So he would spend a lot of time setting up room mics to capture drum sounds and actually get that whole ambience of the drums. So where the shine and the like, it's not really a tight drum sound, it's like really kind of bright and open and like,
It really
brings
does.
a lot, kind of.
Fills a lot of space. I love the way the snare sounds. It's so tingy, but in all the right ways. You know what I mean?
And he did some like compression tricks too, where he'd like, set the release and the attack. He would play with those settings so where things would punch, and then so that way the music was always pumping and like pushing. It wasn't just kind of stale. It was always like kind of pushing the speakers a little bit. So that was like his kind of technique.
Now that you explain it, I can definitely hear it as I think back. It's like, wow, it definitely doesn't sound like a lot of doubling. It just sounds like a whole bunch of one guitar really big, one bass really motherfucking big, and a huge motherfucking drum set that just wraps around the entire thing, It makes sense to someone like maybe you, Bria, just hearing the way that is and being a fan of theirs, you're like, that makes fucking complete sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It does. Yeah. And I was just going to mention, like, while we're talking about the sound, a little fun fact about this album specifically. So Dan Andriano and Matt Skiba were sick the entire time they recorded this album. And after they were done, Matt Skiba had to have vocal surgery. One of 2 vocal surgeries.
Holy fuck. I don't even feel like he's pushing his vocals, but he might be in there screaming his fucking
a combination
head
of he already had problems and his lifestyle and him being a singer.
Smoker, drinker?
A heavy drinker. And,
Smoke some cigarettes?
Smoker, yeah.
You like some cigarettes? I like this guy. I can hang out with him. For sure.
Mostly drugs and alcohol.
Probably doesn't smoke anymore.
I don't know if he
Since one
actually, I
after
don't want to
two.
say that he did smoke because I don't remember ever reading that, but I know that he used drugs and alcohol and then kind of shied away from that after he had his surgery.
The other guy that was sick, the bass player,
Dan Andriano, yeah.
the drummer could not be sick. No, playing those kind of drums sick?
Yeah.
Jesus, he'd be having to like ice pack him, dude.
And this is the first album that the drummer's on, Derek Grant.
Yeah.
And he's still the drummer now.
His salt, a little bit about Derek Grant. He plays a CNC custom set. Most professional drummers do. He loves to work with Josh Freese, who is just on everything like 9 Inch Nails to the Vandals, to, I don't know, look at his fucking shit.
So,
it is insane.
That's mostly what Derek Grant did with Josh Freese is the Vandals. Is he filled in for him while touring with the
Right.
Vandals.
That one other band, but awesome. I love that
He filled in for Face to
that little
Face.
crossover, if you will, because if you don't know who Josh Freese is, Perfect Circle, 9 Inch Nails, and he's also filled in for everyone and their mom. even for like Travis Barker and Blink-182, like when he couldn't do it, you know, like when something needs to get done and the main drummer's out, you call this fucking guy. And that guy's awesome. His whole family is just fucking super famous. We got to do just an episode on these people, I swear to God.
Yeah.
But a few other bands that Derek was in was Walls of Jericho. You ever heard of that band? That was the only band I knew of out of his list.
Yeah.
Suicide Machine? He's amazing. He's amazing.
For the credits on the album, it's only just the three main, and then you had, like you said, Keith Morris doing backing, and then Jerry Finn doing backing, and he was also responsible for a lot of, you know, the co-producing, the mixing. You had a lot of other credits, like drum tech. You know, it's first time I've seen a drum tech like credits. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And all of
Shout
the
out to that
episodes
guy.
we've
What's his
done,
name?
Mike Fasano.
Fucking shout out to Mike.
But you
Drum
got
sounded great, dude.
Brian Gardner, who did the mastering, and he's I think we may have mentioned him before, but he's done a lot of like hip hop stuff, and they called him Big Bass, Big Bass Gardner, because he's done like you know, he was responsible for Outkast's Speaker Box, which 8 times nominated for a Grammy, so he's responsible for that.
What?
And then, there's somebody named Keith Moon, not the Keith Moon, but a Keith Moon, who did the artwork, layout, and design. Pretty funny. And then you had a bunch of like 3 assistant engineers.
Dude, that
Holmes,
list
Jason
was pretty
Gossman,
big. I looked at it, I was
Reed.
like, I'm not reading all this.
Like,
I don't got all that.
Yeah. And then Joe McGrath, who's the other main producer and recording, I guess, tech. But Jerry Finn, who did the mixing and stuff, just to round out on him, he did pass away in 2008 because he suffered a intracerebral hemorrhage.
What?
And then, so he had a heart attack and then got an intracerebral hemorrhage.
Oh.
Was in a coma.
2008? In 2008 this happened?
Yeah, 2008.
Oh my
July 2008. And then he was taken off life support in August 9th of 2008 and died the 21st. So this guy, pretty big, you know, he's
3 years later,
a lot of music.
3 years later, the scene's almost dead, dude.
So right after working with, you know, this on this album, kind of, you know what I mean?
Holy shit. R.I.P.
What would it be, 2 years?
Damn. Well, we got to do an episode just based on these producers, these engineers, these masterminds behind every great album, because their story definitely needs to be told.
2003, sorry. So he died in 2008. So 5 years, but still.
Yeah.
Pretty soon after working on this album.
And all these bands still making albums well after. Just the scene was kind of like losing steam, and this was one of the granddaddies of it. Kind of see where it kind of went as well.
Cello Studios is where it was recorded, but it doesn't, you know, besides the people who I listed that were responsible for it, it kind of is this studio that was around from 1999 to 2005, so it doesn't really exist anymore, but it was a pretty high profile studio because you had Rage Against the Machine, Blink-182, Tool, System of a Down, Weezer, Muse, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Mars Volta,
Audio Slave.
So it was a pretty big, you know, eclectic group of musicians coming in and out.
I would say so. Yeah.
Had a big collection of rare microphones and gear. So again, part of the responsible for how this album sounds is, you know, yes, the people behind it, but then it's also the gear that's in the studio and the mics and the room and all this stuff.
The ability to go in there and have good equipment. Hence why a lot of episodes we see them going to multiple studios to use different equipment. Like we wanted the room in this studio for the drums, but we wanted to go over to this studio because they had this vintage mic sound, whatever, yada, yada, yada. But how long did it take to record this album?
It doesn't say.
I mean, we know we got to take 12 days for him just to get the guitar sounds just right. So that's like almost 2 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, from the recording, it seems like it was done pretty fast because it doesn't list here like a time frame of recording, but
Weird.
I mean,
Usually does.
yeah, I mean, we do with the bonus tracks. You got 14 songs total, but 12 with what is it? It doesn't say. What's the runtime here?
It's 39
minutes.
yeah.
So, I mean, I would imagine probably like a couple months. You know, this guy likes to work fast. You probably record it in a month or so.
Yeah,
It mixes
at
it in
least
2
that's what I was
weeks,
saying.
you know,
like,
so
knocking it out, I'm
yeah,
sure.
about a couple months of actual, you know, work. Because I mean, they also did an album right after this, right? Or at least a split series, volume 5, and then right before it, they did Alkaline Trio, Hot Water Music.
It was a split, yeah.
And that was
They didn't-
2002. So
Yeah.
literally the year before and the year after, they're doing something, so they can't be doing this for too long.
Yeah, they didn't release their next studio album until 2006, which is Crimson.
And also a little bit, maybe you didn't know, but Alkaline Trio is an American band
They're from
from
Chicago.
Chicago, Illinois.
I was going to mention that. Yeah.
An American band.
From
So
Chicago.
it makes sense as well, like their sound, because Bria was playing this for me last night, and I was just,
Oh, sweet.
rolling back and forth like this demon was trying to get out of my body. It was like, oh, stop
You
it,
are
it hurts.
such an asshole. Judgy fuck. God.
But she gave me other reference points of other bands that were in this time frame, and what was one of them was like, "Would you play for me?" It wasn't "Bullet for My Valentine," was it?
No. They used My Chemical
Oh,
Romance?
they used or My Chemical Romance, I
Yeah.
think it was, and way different type of sound. But that's like based on where you're at, in the country. Also defines a lot of what's going on around you, and you can kind of hear it in some ways. That you can kind of hear that, Chicago. Kind of because
Very
bands that
Midwest.
come from there just have like a certain way of going upon things. You know what I mean? Like order form per se, or like how you start off a song, especially about how you sing. That has to do with like the way your cadence, how you like go upon speaking about something, because you got to think of things like accents. You know what I mean? And the way people talk in different cities and in different parts of even I would just say the world. It determines on how you sing and what your voice sounds like at that moment as well, So you gotta kind of think of that, like people's dialect or just the slang that they use when they are like singing. It determines a lot. Start looking at like bands that you're like, yeah, this kind of sounds like this other band. You're like, they're probably from the same place, They're probably both from California, probably both from Venice Beach,
Yeah, they got their start at, I know the venue. They first started playing at Fireside Bowl. I think that they've stopped booking bands now, but they did have a lot of bands come through at the time. And then they also played at the Metro in Chicago, which is a bar/venue that also have a reputation of hosting bands like this. All Midwest punk bands that have come through there.
Telling you, if I was just a little bit older in this time frame, if I was like 18 instead of 13, and I was a pretty good drummer, and I was like, I love metal, but fuck it, this stuff is really popular. I'm gonna get into it. I could have done it, man. I could have been there drumming for this stuff, not even giving a fuck about anything else, making money. It just took off like rapid fire. It was everywhere, and it still comes up time and time again. I mean, these are like callbacks to a time of here in America and what we're going through. I'm just always thinking of like the Scooby-Doo movies, for some reason, like really sunny and like a juice, like a Jamba Juice or something, a mall. I don't know why these things keep flashing in my head when I start thinking about this.
FYE.
This time,
That's what I think of.
this time frame, and like what was going on then, just what was on television, especially the Scooby-Doo movie. I can't get that out of my head.
Because they have
It's so
there's a
bad.
lot of pop punk bands in the new, not the new series, but the more recent of the Scooby-Doo. It's all like the whole soundtrack is pop punk stuff.
It was like all of MTV as well.
I don't know why Scooby-Doo, but
I remember when Good Charlotte like took over Headbangers Ball. I wanted to kill myself.
oh my god.
I wanted to die that day.
Hey.
It was like all these people that were like in metal
It's okay. Everyone that's wanting to
Then Good
shit on Scott
Charlotte.
right now, I have your back because we all choose different paths. And
You know
the
what?
thing is,
those
let me
guys from
say,
Good Charlotte doing pretty well. Married to some pretty hot ladies.
I want to say we all choose different paths, but we're all equal music fans here. And just because you with Korn and Slipknot and you chose that path,
Don't you disrespect?
I'm not, as you have been disrespecting the bands I grew
Don't
up
you
on this
talk
whole
about the things
fucking
that make me
episode.
cry.
But I chose that path, and we still can meet in
Right.
the middle. We still can do this. We still can talk about the bands we love and how they've affected us and different genres and their contributions. And so, sometimes I want to shit on Korn.
What about some of the fashion? What about some of the fashion for this particular?
Oh, you want to
scene?
talk about fashion?
No, just like what was
Bondage?
going on in this particular
Pants
scene. Oh my god,
with you?
that's not any better. This is a very straightforward look. Is it more? Are we taking away from the whole like being a little bit wacky punk rock band and just being like straight dickies, short hair, a couple maybe tatted up all the way, piercings, but not too extreme, not too crazy looking fashion wise when it comes to
kinda
like the way
goth,
these bands look.
It's kind of the goth punk.
They,
it's like red
it,
and black.
It really is.
Some
It's
people-
red and black.
Alkaline
Yeah,
Trio is
white
the
and
goth
black.
punk. It's
It's
all
like-
red, white, and black.
Yeah.
It's very
Maybe
uniform. It's
some
all
makeup.
black.
My Chemical
Right?
Romance was
Eyeliner?
a part of that. That
Yeah.
kind of like goth pop punk where it's like
They're even more so. That guy like put
Probably, yeah, but
Well,
think-
this is from a band. Okay, so they're all Satanists. They're all devout Satanists,
cool.
and
they
they
sound cooler and cooler
As I was
we're talking about it, I'm like, these guys are pretty rad, dude.
I think I'm a fan.
as I was
Becoming a fucking fan.
one of the videos we watched last night is them performing one of the famous shows is in 2002 at the Metro Halloween night, and they all came out in priest uniform outfits.
You showed me a
with-
live video. I was
That's
like,
what I'm talking about.
ooh,
And then the
it was
upside down
very
cross in
satanic.
the
Yeah,
back.
it
Like
was
they're
awesome. I was
all
like,
very much about
would've
that.
got
Just because their
excited.
sound doesn't necessarily reflect it, it does if you listen.
that
and their
first song
lyrics
was
do as
super
well.
depressing.
Yeah.
It's not
What was he saying in the lyrics?
Cutting my something.
wow,
Cut
guys.
into
It's
my
this. Nope.
Hand,
nope.
wrist.
This could be love. It's step one, slit my throat.
There you
Step
go.
two,
Boom.
play in my blood.
There you go.
Step three, cover me in dirty sheets and run laughing out of the house.
I've never heard a more gothy line in my life.
Exactly.
That's what I
And
was
that's
saying. I
why
was
I
like,
love
oh,
them.
that's
Something
Depressing
Robert Plant
hell.
would sing, but then it would be under like this soft, like
Dude, type- yeah.
Wait, Robert Plant?
or even
Robert Smith.
Dun,
So,
dun, dun,
just for
That was
a
way
fun
more
fact,
depressing
so
than the Cure
Matt
shit.
Skiba is a
Whoa.
huge fan of The Cure, and he has Love Song tattooed on his
There you go.
knuckles.
There you go.
Yeah.
On his
I can tell.
knuckles? Yeah.
Good. I'm glad you can.
the Smiths and the Plants.
Yeah. I mean, it was like more depressing than like Typo Negative, man. I was like, holy fuck. What happened to
But also,
you?
you're talking about at the same time where it's poppy and upbeat.
But it's also supposed to be kind of bloody and
That-
it's more
yeah.
well dressed. It's like well dressed, good looking
That's why
makeup.
it's different than a
and
lot of other
blood.
pop
You know what I
punk
mean?
that you get.
That's all I ever think about when it comes to this. Like you said, the red and black.
Good.
Every time, but it's not.
this whole album cover is
They're
them
not
standing in
dirty
front of
people,
crosses,
you know
and
what
it's
I mean?
red and black.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not dirty people. In fact, they're a bit dapper when you usually see them.
They're all
they weren't like
they're all handsome.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't looked at any images of this band, but I don't
Okay.
imagine them being like pranksters in their pics where they're like
No,
pulling down my pants
they're
and
all-
take
they're
a
not-
picture.
Yeah,
All
they're
of us do
different
it.
in that aspect. Whereas you get some silly things going on at the time, like Blink-182, like Enema of the State, and things like that. Alkaline
You
Trio is
had
not
to,
as
right?
silly.
Yeah,
They're more like, hey, we like dark
Feelings?
shit.
We
Yeah,
got more feeling.
not feelings necessarily. They like gothy horror shit. They
You seen
like
them live?
horror shit. I've seen them live, and I've 10 times.
Oh my
And I've
god! No.
also-
I've never seen any
I
band that many
also
times.
got to meet them briefly. Very big shout out to them. They were all very nice to me. I was lucky enough to get Matt Skiba's guitar, his red Washburn.
Maybe worth
And
some money one day.
Got his guitar.
I have his guitar.
damn.
So I flew. Yeah,
I brought it for a visual
it's upstairs.
so we can hold it and feel
I-
the energy.
I flew down to meet them in LA at like their storage where I don't know, but
You wait, go back. You flew to them.
Yeah.
Like I'll meet you. You were talking to them like
Okay.
friends.
so what happened is
I'm a pretty rad bitch, and
okay, shout out to my friend Dan. Dan bought Matt Skiba's guitar for me for a birthday present, which was real nice. Long story. But we flew down to meet them in LA, and I get to spend like an hour with them, talking with them, just like hanging out. Got the guitar signed.
How much did this cost?
I'm not gonna say,
Oh my god.
but anyway.
Talk about VIP. Very important. I got to talk.
But I got to talk with them.
people are
They're
making money.
all really nice guys. And I just remember the current thing at the time was when, do you remember when the Sriracha factory was it was like the air was being polluted in China or something?
Because of sriracha?
Yeah, no, where they're, yeah, you guys remember this? Okay.
No.
Okay, I just remember Matsky was talking to me about it and him being like,
What?
yeah, old ladies are leaving their houses and like dying because they're breathing in the Sriracha.
The
these
sriracha air?
fumes. Yeah, it was deadly because it's pepper. Anyway.
Why do we still buy sriracha?
So-
It's killing people?
But it was right before Halloween. I got
Actually
to wish
eating
them a
this.
happy Halloween. They were all very cool. Matt Skiba is super fucking tall, by the way. Did not realize.
I was thinking he would be like 5'4".
No, he's like 6'5" or something. I don't
Say
know.
what?
Yeah.
He's a
He's a
giant.
And I remember he was super nice because they were
Like,
all
hey,
very nice.
poser. He turns
But-
around, stands up.
But
Oh, fuck.
I wrote something for them, and I got to give it to him, and he like put it in his pocket, gave me a big hug, and they're all really cool, and
You were like dick level with him.
yeah, and I saw them a
What?
couple years later. That was still when I lived back home in Seattle, and so I saw them a couple years later here in Austin, and I don't know if you'll remember this, Matsky, but if you ever fucking listen to this or not, but I was in the front and I like waved to him like, hey, I remember you. And he like
Shout
looked
out
at
to
me
Matt Skiba.
and was like, hey.
Hey, you.
Yeah, hey,
His
you.
own
All of them.
episode.
All of them were great. They're very nice. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. It was one of the best, honestly, best band meetings of my life.
Follow-up
Ever.
question. Are they like kind of really lazy way of saying this? Are they like kind of violent on stage? Do they like really get into it? Are they jumping around, head banging?
I feel like they
the drummer's
were
like just
in the
losing his goddamn mind.
I feel like they were in the beginning. They
They're playing
have
songs
a large
faster maybe than
they have
they
a large
originally played.
stage presence. They are very like they're not like super violent and jumpy and like ripping
Didn't
up
imagine
shit.
that they were.
And,
Nope.
no,
Just had to check.
That's not their super style. I mean, in the beginning more so, but they're all like even if you watch interviews with them, they're kind of like all very. Hey, we're into this. We're into
just
horror.
a
We're
bunch
into
of
dark
nerds,
things.
yeah.
They're nerdy folk,
Yeah.
and they're very calm.
I can relate to that.
You can hear like with Matt Skiba's like kind of vocal range is like very like monotone in some parts, and it's like oh, how did I describe it? It was like
I don't think he ever sung at
gentle
all on
hug.
this no, album.
does sing.
He's just talking the whole time.
he is not. He's singing.
I guess you can call it that. No. Wow. There's some parts where he uses range. All right, that's all I'm saying. But most of it is very, very right there in the verse. You know what I'm talking about. All right, so next song.
Let's get
So
let's get
you
into the
can-
next song. This is
So I
my
can show you what I'm talking about.
Yeah, reference this.
the next one is Continental. This is my favorite song off the album. So fuck you. Do not say shit about this. It's an amazing song.
I'm going to the bathroom anyways, and it's probably going to take me about how long is the song?
3 minutes, maybe. I don't know.
About 3 minutes or so to pee. So
but
I mean, poop.
this song is one of their like
3.5.
all the sound
Yeah,
that
it
we were
takes, like,
talking about
long to poop.
about them being darker or whatever. You can really hear that in this song, and that's why I fell in love with this one. Is the lyrics are amazing, and that feel is definitely present in this. And this, to me, honestly, one of the biggest reasons why I really wanted to do this album is because it really, to me, defines who they are. So, play Continental, Chris.
All right. If this will.
Chris, do it now.
I've got a dying urge to feel the way you do. Too close for comfort, bed and breakfast in a spoon. The shortest breath of your young life, a long walk home on Friday night. You made one last stop at the store. So close to perfect, swear to hell thought it was you. But this bouncing baby boy's now turning baby blue. I've got your pictures on my walls. I got a long list wanting family. You had 9 lives and one by one you chewed them up. Your final coffin nail's been driven far too much. This won't take long, you said. I'm not going far. Go wait in the car. Go wait in the car. I often wonder what it feels like to be you. A mess like this stuck on your hands with crazy glue. Ran out of time, no kiss goodbye. Wish I could learn to let this sleeping dog die. Without lying to myself, you had 9 lives and one by one you chewed them up. Your final coffin nail's been driven far too much. This won't take long, you said. I'm not going far. Go wait in the car. Go wait in the car. You had 9 lives and one by one you chewed them up. Your final coffin nail's been driven far too much. This won't take long, you said. I'm not going far. Go wait in the car. Go wait in the car.
I fucking love that song with all my heart.
Why that song more than any other song on this album?
Actually, it's my favorite Alkaline Trio song of all time.
Oh,
This album, as I was kind of explaining earlier, really hit me hard at a young age. I mean, it's continental and probably close second. The first song we played, "This Could Be Love," just lyrically wise. I just started writing at the time, and I remember getting this album and reading over the lyrics in the album, like the case, and just rereading them and being like, I would really love to be able to write this way someday. And it was this song specifically.
and that's what really sells you when it comes to the bands that you love, right? It's about their lyrical content, the way that they write. It's very important to you, and that's like
That's why my
mainly
favorite band is The Cure.
90% of why you like this band, because it's really
No,
not
not
the
90%.
songs. It's not the music.
It is. It's all of it. It's the
not the way
sound.
he
Are you what?
sings.
You're putting words in my mouth. I love all of it. Matt Skiba
It's
is
just their
my
writing.
favorite
Yep.
singer next to Robert Smith.
That's you've always said that, and that's
Yeah,
why we were
thank
like,
you.
well, we have to do this episode then because you care this much about it, and that's what this podcast is all about. Because other people should be listening to this episode if you're a super fan of it, or you just like hearing us talk. But I don't see. That
They might like
being
hearing
the
me
case.
talk. I don't know so much about you.
I could see why you would say that. I mean, I have been pretty mean this entire podcast. And,
Yeah.
But, you know, I did want to say this album was highly acclaimed by all the fucking people, man. It was like fucking 4.5 stars across the board.
When it was released, it was number 20 on Billboard's 200.
But for whatever reason, it didn't sell that many copies. Maybe it was the time frame, but...
by August of that year, it was 258,000.
Which I don't think, are we still not in the platinum status? I believe it's
Well,
500,000.
no, the August of 2008.
Oh, 2008, sorry.
So yeah,
So years later. Yeah.
5 years later.
When
they
that
got
guy
to-
died.
Wow.
I'm just doing the math in my head, all right? Okay. I was like, holy shit, that's why.
I don't know if that's
I don't know
why,
if that correlates, but sure.
but That's a weird, that they have that mark. That's the mark that they grabbed the latest numbers that we have. It's a
12
2008
years.
August,
It's been, who knows? But
So yeah, it's got to be up to at least 500,000 now. More.
I think, in the first week of sales of 40,000, not that crazy. But let's rethink this and remember what scene we're in and what bands we're talking about and their fans. They were probably giving this album away for free as much as possible. Like,
these are people who were my age,
because
like
that's what you
12 and
do in
13
this
years
scene as
old.
well. You know, it's not about like making a ton of money and this whole like corporate greed type of like we have to sell as much as possible, $40 shirts. I'm sure it's not like that at all. 10 concerts. What was the highest ticket price you've ever paid to see this band?
This band,
Alkaline Trio.
$35.
Boom.
That
right
was
there.
that was 2 years ago too. So that was more recent. Actually,
even
I did buy
furthers
a
my
ticket
point,
to
you know?
their last tour that they had to cancel because of all the fuckery that's going on in the world, and that was also $35. So,
Well,
and they were supposed
that
to play
sucks.
here in Austin
Yeah.
in last month.
So
So looking forward to seeing you guys when you do have your tour with Bad
Next
Religion.
year.
Shout out to Bad Religion. Next year, yeah.
2021 is gonna be a lot better. You know, I hope.
For music.
There's a strong chance we might not be getting back to any live shows from any big bands for the next year until next year. You know, I mean, that's just kind of where we're at right now, and it really does suck dick. But we got to do what we got to do. You know, hold your head up high and just deal with it.
So, like you were saying too, the sales, or at least the sales and the criticism might not match, whereas like Highly Regard maybe didn't sell quite as much. But for it being their fourth album and then it debuts at number 20, the album after this one debuts at 25, which it seems like they're going backwards, but then the one after that in 2008 debuts at 13, then the one after that 11. So then they get this skyrocket up here around 2005, 2008. And then 2010, that's the one where it gets to, they debut at 11. Their debut at the US Alt is number 1. They debut in the US Indie number 1, US Rock at number 1, UK Rock at number 2.
People fucking love this band.
And that was in 2010 for their This Addiction album, which would, I guess by sales and charting, that would be their most acclaimed or most popular as far as like debuting at the highest. And
that's when their sound kind of shifted too, because so it was this album Crimson, and then when you get This Addiction, it's in my opinion, it's shifting a little bit away from the darker elements, especially lyrically, and getting more into the kind of the poppier, like let's have fun sound.
Not being so depressing with the lyrical content,
It's
but still being clever
I don't
as
describe
they
it
ever
as
were.
depressing, but yeah.
I mean, some people, I think, what were those lyrics again?
The ones that I said earlier?
One, slit my wrist.
Okay.
Two,
They never talk about slitting wrists.
What was
Let's
it
make
again?
that clear. Okay. It slit my throat.
Yay. Instinct kill
Again,
shot, by the way. That
Different
should be
because
a kill
they
shot.
like
You're
horror.
pretty much fucked on that
they
one.
like horror. They talk about blood, and they always talk about, in every song except for maybe like one or two, they mention like a body part of some sort.
In this album, they do have a song called Dahmer Party, right?
No, it's called Donner Party all night, like the Donner Party.
Yeah,
and
that's
it's
what I meant
about
to say.
the Donner
That's
Party.
what I said.
that's what I said.
That's what I said.
And they do have a song called All on Black. So
The picture of Matt Skiba on Wikipedia does have him in a Charles Manson shirt. So they do like the horror. To her point, they do like the scary.
These guys
and
sound
the
pretty
spooky.
cool, actually.
yeah, he is.
Yeah.
They all are really cool.
Kind of selling it for me.
They also have a song
more we talk about it.
off of Crimson called Sadie G, dedicated to the Manson girl, Sadie.
There you go.
Well,
It all
goddamn.
ties around.
Yeah. I guess that really is why you love a lot of it as well, because they are super horror fans like yourself.
Yeah.
like yourself. Yeah.
Yes.
And that being said, don't you a podcast? Or
Oh, you want me to
something?
mention this now? Oh, let me do my plug.
Might as well.
So I am going to be hosting a horror podcast soon with my dear friend Charles Malcolm. We're going to be co-hosting it. It is called We Are Horror-ible, like we are horror-ible.
Okay. Yeah. Love it.
We're going to release our first episode on the 21st of May. Cool. And I hope you guys tune in. Even if you are not a horror fan, it's going to be centered obviously around horror movies. Each episode is going to be a different horror movie. But even if you're not, tune in for some fun facts, interesting things.
The new show in the BANGover Productions line. Please follow us on all the Instagram things. We will be plugging your Instagram once it's up and going, all the things. Find us at BANGover Productions, and we'll set up links for everything that you need to find.
Yes.
Yes.
Everywhere. Instagram,
Facebook
at BANGover ATX, and YouTube at BANGover Productions.
YouTube at BANGover Productions.
Yep.
We're not done, are we?
No.
Okay. I was like, it sounds like we're wrapping up.
doing pluggies.
No, but I'm gonna go and you guys finish this up. I got places to be.
No. Fun fact that Cello Studios actually has like a long, tumultuous history. It's actually started as United Western Records, which was like the home of like Brian Wilson doing Pet Sounds and Smile. So this like really legendary California studio, you know.
Kind of goes back to the Manson thing we were talking
There
about.
you go. So it was basically
tie.
his studio, you know, recorded all the Beach Boys stuff there. Bing Crosby, Sinatra, Elvis, you know, all these people had worked in the studio. And then it kind of shifted owners. They renamed it to Ocean Way Recording, which is what it was called until 1999, which then they called it Cello Studios.
Because Ocean Wave just sounded too much like the surf rock bands.
And then that closed, and then we had all those bands coming in, like, you know, Weezer, all these more modern big bands of the day. That they sold it again, Ocean Way. So then it becomes East West Studios. It gets sold again, and then gets renamed back to United Recording Studios in 2015. So
all that for nothing. All that changing of hands.
nothing.
All that money passed around,
That's a
and we
lot
just
of-
ended up
That's a circle
right back
of
where we
fuck right there.
fucking started.
Yeah, but basically
Legendary.
Everybody and their mom has gone through that doors, from Madonna, Rod Stewart, Eric Clapton, Ella Fitzgerald, Mama's Papas, Dean Martin, Sammy Day, you know, Rolling Stones. Everybody.
I just want to go in there and lick the
Yeah.
walls.
This is like the studio.
Retain some of that fucking greatness that happened there.
So, and then on top of Alkaline Trio and all those bands, then you had all the modern 90s bands, Weezer, Rage, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Muse, and then Mars Volta, you know, up until the 2005, probably, and then the 2015, you know, imagine who's coming through the doors then, you know, probably more modern stuff, but still, big acts. I don't think they're still around. It looks like they kind of shuttered towards the end of that.
What? It's not
closed
open
their
anymore?
doors?
It was sold and renamed back to United
my
Recording, but yeah, that's the last. Its legacy as far as like
Well, that's
doesn't
depressing.
It's probably
doesn't say
still
if
there,
Doesn't stay
you
if
know?
it's still open, but
Yeah, it's probably still there, you know, just used by Warner Brothers or something. They probably just pass it around. Places like that, certain buildings have a sound to them.
yeah. Well, it's been remodeled and equipment's come in and out, so it's like maybe
Maybe it's the
a
people that work
skeleton
there.
of what
Yeah.
it once was,
And maybe
but
it was mainly the people that worked there.
the aura
more
is
than
probably still there. You know,
whatever. Yeah,
whatever.
built on a fucking
Indian burial ground.
All the
for
ghosts.
music.
in a good way. Yes. They're dancing.
Yeah. So that was interesting to find out that, you know, this album has a place in that circle as far as artists and albums that have come out of this room in this
Imagine-
this recording area.
Walking into the door and it would probably just be an entire room covered in albums to try to list all the albums that were recorded here. Everywhere, anytime, maybe you've never walked into a studio before, Bria, maybe you have. When you go in there, you just see everything. You're not a musician.
People who are listening.
Are you kidding me?
Listeners that aren't
I've walked
musicians.
into so many fucking studios.
I guess everyone has.
This girl has a guitar from Matt Skiba. She knows a studio.
Okay, no,
You
but
had to go
either way,
pick
I
out from
told
the
you.
studio.
Remember me talking about Robert Lang Studios in Washington? Nirvana, Soundgarden.
Yeah,
Oh, there you go.
we've talked
Yeah,
about
they
it.
all
We've
record.
talked
Okay,
about
my
it.
dad,
That's
my
cool.
dad helped build it.
Oh, there you go.
That should have been a fun fact for the Nirvana episode. We're not
I
talking about
think I said that.
We're gonna cut this into the Nirvana episode.
I think I said that on the episode.
Maybe. Yeah, it was too long ago. What is this, episode 81 to 8?
No. We're almost at a year
79.
anniversary, so
I lost count.
yeah.
Another fun fact.
Fun fact.
Maybe this ain't really a fact, but I did hear me and Bria. I listened to this channel on YouTube. I'm gonna give him a shout out. Punk Rock MBMA. I like to listen to this guy. I don't know
Pop
his
punk
name.
MDMA, right?
No, it's just called Punk Rock. The Punk
that's
Rock
just the channel it's
MBMA.
called, okay.
Right. You can find him on YouTube. He just breaks down music. He's very well spoken about it. I like the way he talks about things, and he talks about genres that have rose and fallen. Like these giant waves of bands that rose to the top, and then why everything came crashing down. And that's I got a lot of the information for this episode because this ain't my expertise. When I went to Vans Warped Tour one time, and I still remember I was like, this is the worst fucking concert
This guy
I've
already
ever
hates concerts.
fucking been to.
By the way,
I was so bored.
Scott is a musician who doesn't go to shows.
I've been to Ozfest like 5 times, and that shit's been
Yeah,
good
but you
every
don't
time.
go to many
And then
concerts.
Mayhem Fest like 3 times.
It's like
Fun
it's got to
Fun
be
Fun
like
Fest,
a lot of
4.
bands.
It's
If I
gotta
see
be a
just
lot
like one
and
band, it's like
specific to
I'll
him.
see it,
Yeah.
but it's like not worth it unless
I
there's
go to
like
shows.
more than 3
Yeah.
I
bands.
didn't skateboard either. All right, so let
You gotta
that be
get your
known.
money's worth. I understand. I mean,
Let that be known. All right.
Fucking A. I roll.
too bad festivals are done did with. Like, you know what I mean? The Ozfest.
Warped Tour is not a thing
anymore. Yeah.
All those
Yeah.
No
festivals
fun.
that cater to these
Sasquatch
genres.
for all you people back home. That was another good one.
Within the ashes of these dead festivals always arises another, and there will be.
No, what
a
happens
rise,
is
you
it's
know?
a festival, but it becomes a stage.
Yeah.
So it's like you'll have the pop punk stage, and then that's where all these bands will play, and then you have the black stage.
I
where,
love
like
that.
Fun, where it's
Yeah.
like all the heavy metal bands play.
It was-
and then
that
you
was
have,
the cleverest
Like, that's
thing
how
ever.
these
And Warped
festivals
Tour was like
set
the
up.
Ernie Ball stage,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Like even like ACL sets up like that sort of too, where it's like you have your headline stage, and blah, blah, but they don't necessarily do it by genre. But it's like
They should.
they should,
They
sure,
should.
they should. That
It
way,
really makes me like know where I should go based on what I love.
where's the path?
I don't
should
know what
stay in
stage
this
I should be at.
I'm gonna plant myself
Go
at
over
this
here.
one
Yeah.
stage.
Fucking DJ.
It's also about discovering other things, like going to different stages and maybe seeing a band live.
whistles
That,
to me, man. I
maybe
don't- I
seeing a
don't
band
hear
live that
music.
you've never heard that you
I
love.
don't hear just fucking blast beats. That's all I ever hear.
The largest sigh in all of humanity.
Just a roar.
constantly in his head. That's what he blast beats and a roar.
I've been playing Slayer songs as we've been listening to these Alkaline Trio songs in my head.
Wow.
Out to the kingdom of the dead. What?
Well, I play. Tell you what. Every time you talk to me and I don't want to hear you, this is what I play in my head. So there you go. So go fuck yourself. Yep, I'm
My
like,
voice
hey,
just
I'm in a better
drowning out.
mood. For it being so dark, I'm in a way better mood.
Anything that I'm saying.
Is he saying something to me? I don't know. Dan Andriano is singing in my head. Sorry.
Well, my fun fact wasn't really a fact. Getting back to the point prior,
FF.
it was just something that he said on the punk rock MBMA that made sense. That this music, one of the main reasons it's died and didn't like keep going in a form or another. That being said, there's plenty of these bands that are still being made. It's just not
Still playing,
huge.
yeah.
It's not a mainstream genre. That they all transition to this new rap or hip hop this trap music, these internet rappers, if you will. He played some examples of people I can't remember the names of these acts.
I don't remember their names. I do remember those songs.
It was dead on.
They were
Like
internet
it sounds,
YouTube sensations at the time.
Exactly. It sounds just like a pop punk song. The only difference is instead of drums, it's like a fucking, a synthesizer, this trap beat thing in the background. And that's what changes everything. But they sing just like it. They have verses just like that. They set up their song formations in that same fashion. And they're these young people in this era because it's still gritty, just like punk rock, this whole trap music, it's not polished. So that's kind of where it all went, and it was crazy to just hear those new bands, quote unquote, because I feel like an old man when I've talked about this because I can't remember any of those. Like, is Billie Eilish one of those? No, I don't know.
I don't think so.
I can't remember any of the names that he said. Post Malone, is he one of them?
No.
Maybe.
This is
I don't know
you're
what
talking
you're
about an
trying-
era
yeah, I think-
before.
I don't know.
This is still
but-
early 2000s that you're talking about. So
No, I'm talking about what is out now and where this genre really just kind of went. Maybe I'm not saying maybe it was created, but all the fans left and just went to this new genre of music, rap, hip hop kind of thing. That's what really picked up because
I think
in
a
this
lot
time frame,
a lot of things,
2002
jumped toward that.
But in 2002, we were all about
That's-
these songs.
it's-
Like you would hear them in the locker room at high school. They
Yeah.
would play them at like proms.
that's the
and
young.
stuff.
You're talking about the youth. So like I think
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
what this genre had a lot going for it was the youth. You didn't see a lot of bearded 60-year-old men at Alkaline Trio shows. Maybe there
Not-
was some, but
now
majority
they are.
of
No.
majority of the fans at those shows were probably young kids, girls, young guys.
True. Yeah.
Like, and
music's for kids. I
Yeah,
always say this.
even if you go to a Post Malone show, it's probably going to be more millennial crowd, younger.
I wasn't
you're not
sure
gonna
of any
find,
acts,
like,
but it was a very
Bunch
interesting
of older
concept.
dudes and dads there.
Yeah.
Like,
Just kind of like when this died, what took over, and like hip hop
And that, yeah.
kind of took the space of where pop punk filled.
I think it
in
was just
for 15 years.
the youth
you know
is
what I mean?
like trying to rebel, and like this is speaking to that time and that group of American youth at the time, and then
Right. And then
years change, so then it goes to Post Malone and Billie Eilish and this
Right,
kind of,
and
that's the rebellion
Yeah.
of today's music.
because all these bands like Alkaline Trio started from the post punk, hardcore kind of scene back in the day and kind of moved up. But the further they moved, the further they got from the post punk scene, and that's being close with your audience. You get to a point where you're so big, you got to play arenas. You start to lose the resonance, that resonance,
a different vibe,
that
yeah.
vibe that you had with younger fans. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So your stadium now, a younger fan that has no money to his name, when Alkaline Trio is letting people in for free just because they got that tattoo, that's how things change hands. It's like they just moved too far away with success to keep a younger generation captivated in what they were doing.
Well, because the music again, it's like
Yeah.
when you have bands blow up like Green Day and Blink-182 that we keep referencing, because they're kind of
huge.
the like pillars of
the big dogs. Even Sum 41, that's insane to me.
When bands
Sum
blow
41, I
up
can't
like
even say
that, it
name.
becomes like the whole grunge thing too. We got to sign bands, we got to play them. They get overplayed. They play bigger and bigger shows.
It inflates the scene
Exactly.
and pop.
It's like now you're
Then we
seeing
go somewhere else.
You're seeing Blink-182 from the nosebleeds when last year you saw them and you were front row.
Yeah.
It's like a whole year's
Changes
passed,
everything.
and now I'm in the arena.
When I first saw Alkaline Trio, it was a venue that probably held about 200, maybe. That's a big guess. And then like the second time I saw them, they were playing in a mall parking lot.
Yeah, that's
And
how
then,
you stay.
each time you see
with
them, it's
your-
like growing.
Yeah,
like,
and this
because-
last year they were
yeah.
supposed to be at Stubbs.
yeah.
And that's your post punk roots right there. Like playing those smaller venues, not playing like. For our example here, we have the Frank Urban Center, which is like our huge arena here, and then a bunch of smaller venues or just kind of big venues around that. But arena bands are very different from.
Well, there's like you have
Bands.
those middle kind
Yeah.
of like arenas where it's like ACL, the
amphitheater.
not the amphitheater. Well, yes, the amphitheater, but the
not
Moody
as big.
Theater.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
There's the
Yeah.
Moody Theater, and then you also have Emos, which those two are about comparable, in size a little bit.
Yeah, the
Right,
time I
yeah,
did
Emos
see
is
them
not
here, they
very
played at
big,
Emos.
Yeah. And so those are like those middle of the road kind of like you could see.
And this is where you'll find Alkaline Trio.
Yeah, they play at
living
emos when
and
I
still
do
living
see
to
them
this
here.
day. You know,
Yeah, they're in that
the middle of the road of the not
don't
very
want 'em-
small
yeah.
venues, not huge arenas, just your standard classic venue. Everyone that's listening, that's a music fan, has a venue like that they fucking love because they pick the bands
Yep.
that you want. You know, you live here in Austin, you lived in Seattle. It doesn't matter where in the U.S. There's usually one. And that really determines on what city you live in. I'm not saying there's some really small cities out there where it's like they have nothing. They have a VFW and that's about it. You know?
Yeah.
So any more fun facts? Bria, you got anything for us?
I got one that I really liked.
Fun fact, that guy was 6'5". Fuck.
I think he is. I think he has
tall.
like 6'5".
Fuck. No. I'll be like, I bet I can kick his ass. Bet I can't. Because
Why would you want to? He's a nice human.
he's a poser.
Whoa.
I'm joking.
Okay,
Just-
we're done. I throw down the mic. I
joking.
fucking
I was just
black eye
using
you. I will
the-
fucking stab you. That's fighting words. You've said a lot of shit on this.
I was just saying what those
No more
kids
podcast. Scott's dead. No.
That's how they speak back then, right? No, I'm just talking like punk rockers. Man, I'm just trying to be as punk rock as possible.
I don't think that is a correct term to use for them, though.
Using the terminology.
That's fine. You know what? I was called a poser a lot when I was younger, and I don't consider myself to be because I've always loved what I loved and I've always stood by it.
And yeah, you can't be a
So
poser of that.
fuck
Yeah.
yourself. Anyway, continuing on.
Well, you still follow the band. You didn't follow it because everyone else was listening to it. Like you stuck with it even when
Yeah,
it
nobody
wasn't the
knew at
most
the
popular
time.
thing at the time, you know?
I didn't have any friends that were really big into The Cure or Alkaline Trio when I was listening to them.
None? It was like a huge group in my high school, man.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's a personal thing. I existed outside of that. I didn't like my friends were into other things.
Goth kid? No, Vampire Kids.
I was the only like goth kid at my high school. All the other kids were like, you fucker. Like rocker kids who were into metal and Korn and Slipknot and shit. And then you had everybody else. I was into like Susie and the Banshees and Joy Division. Different crowds.
Yeah. Too soft.
You're too soft. Anyway,
Yawn
no,
City.
my one of my favorite fun facts actually that I didn't know about. So Matt Skiba was the best man at Fat Mike's wedding. Fat Mike
NoFX.
is the lead singer of NoFX.
course.
They're really good
Another-
friends.
Of course they're friends. No,
Yeah.
I don't know if they're NoFX is. They're kind of pop punks.
they shared the stage.
They're a little bit more-
They
Or-
teeter that real
Yeah.
thin line. I
don't
don't
like
consider
it.
them to
I don't
be.
think they're
Yeah,
pop punk
I know
either,
you're-
but
yeah.
I could see how people would say they are.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Sounds like
I
it
think
to me.
they're like more on. That's why I like NoFX is because they like tease it, but they are not. They're like a big fuck you
Yeah,
to that. kinda.
exactly.
So
And
it's
you
like,
can see
true.
that in their lyrics,
Yeah.
especially because they're so cleverly written with
Yeah.
all the political things that are
Exactly.
inside of it. But yeah, so Fat Mike and Matt Skiba are good friends. Matt Skiba also is a vegan and practices transcendental meditation. He's a big fan of David Lynch. David Lynch wrote a book on transcendental meditation. He read it and was like, "This is for me."
This guy
Ooh,
really
yeah.
is a goth kid. Dude.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Fun fact about Dan Andriano. He's in a supergroup called The Damned Things. It has 2 members of Fall Out Boy in it. It has Scott Ian from Anthrax in it.
What?
Yep. And Keith Buckley of Every Time I Die in it. So they actually are categorized as heavy metal. And yeah, Dan
Fall
Andri-
Out Boy?
Okay, but
Not the singer, right? Not that bass player singer?
yes. Dan Andriano, the bass player of Alkaline Trio, is in
No,
this band.
I was
just
talking about the
mentioned.
bass player for Fall Out Boy. I just really hate that guy. I don't know why.
You're making
His
enemies
hair.
on this one.
You don't like his hair.
Every time I see him, I just
He's got the.
I-
he had that
stupid
little
face,
like
I just want
hair.
But you both
like-
are gingers.
I just want to punch it. I'm just gonna punch.
It's a different guy we're
Punch
talking
him.
about. No,
Punch
it's
him.
not. It's not the guy you're talking about. It's
Yeah.
it's
That's what I thought.
Joe Troman and Andy Hurley.
The bass player and drummer. No. Right?
Of, I don't know.
Probably.
I actually don't know.
I'm just gonna say that. I'm gonna take a wild guess and say yes, because Scott Ian doesn't play drums or bass. No.
Yeah. So there's that. That's a fun fact. He also, Dan Andriano, has a solo project called Dan Andriano in the Emergency Room, and he was also in a band called The Falcon.
Cool.
Those are his other things.
Cool.
What was the super group, the Damn Things?
The Damn Things.
Check it
I
out.
feel like I've heard of that.
I have, yeah.
I feel the same way.
And maybe because of Scotty and just like in the research of Scotty, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
damn thing. But I never put two and two together that it would be all those people. So
Yeah, once you get even further in that Wikipedia fucking hole, you know what I mean?
it's that 6 degrees of Scotty in.
Shit. Yeah.
I mean, for
Yeah.
real.
Yeah.
Guys everywhere, right?
He just sits on the fucking studio VH1. Yeah, he knows everyone. He's
As
just
I
like,
say-
hey man, we haven't met before. No. You know me, now I know you.
You play guitar?
Another degree.
Are you in music?
Add
I
another
play-
degree.
Let's do something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now
So
we're
this guy's
connected.
done
Yeah.
everything, and I wouldn't have put two and together. He's worked with the people in Fallout Boy, so it's like, okay, what hasn't he done now?
Yeah.
Shit, right?
Yeah, two
Shit.
people from Fall Out Boy, Scotty Ian from Anthrax, Keith Buckley of Every Time I Die, and Dan Andriano of Alkaline Trio. That's a crazy mashup there.
I'll check it out. I'll put on a song. I mean, I'll put on a song.
They are, like I said,
I wanna see how
categorized
heavy it
as
is.
heavy metal in there.
I want to see how heavy
see how
it is.
heavy-
That's
I mean,
what I'm
if
saying.
it's Scotty, and I know he brings the riffs, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
you're so hesitant.
Yeah, I really am. Fucking
Yeah.
couldn't find anyone else, huh?
Please, Scotty, and be the savior of this band.
Yeah. I'm telling you, it's probably just the bass player and drummer from Fall Out Boy. And then I can't be mad at those guys because they're just along for the ride. They're like,
Oh my God.
no one talks about us,
Just
but we
along
hold it
for the
down.
ride.
Jesus.
We hold it down. We get paid. That's all that matters.
So check out that. And then if you are also a fan of Alkaline Trio, Matt Skiba has had several other projects. He did Matt Skiba in The Secrets. He was in Heavens, and he also has several solo things. That's just his name. So
Okay. All right.
Damn.
Yeah. Anything else, y'all?
Well, it sounds like all of them are pretty. What is it? They got their own shit that they're doing outside of Alkaline Trio.
Oh yeah, and Blink-182 by the way.
Yeah, I was like, I mean,
and
hardworking
Matt Skiba is
musicians.
Yeah.
Blink-182,
Let's say.
yeah.
Definitely a hardworking
They don't-
band. Hence why we're talking about them today. Because they worked their ass off and they fucking got down to it. How can you not?
Yeah.
Just, if you don't even like it, you got to respect it, you know? So,
Yeah.
yeah. Anything else? Some more Warped Tour talk?
Oh yeah, one more thing. Matt Skiba's first concert was with Public Image Limited
that he
It's
saw or
his-
that he played.
that he played with.
Oh God, that's
I
cool.
know, right?
That's
yeah,
cool.
I guess
Another
that's what, it just says
degree.
his first concert.
Another
with.
degree. That's what.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know if that was under. I don't know what it was under. I could find not much information about that. I don't know if it was just him or
One
Yeah.
night
Yeah.
thing.
yeah.
All right.
Well,
What's
again-
the last song we're getting into?
This was kind of like the coolest song I thought,
This
just
is the one
because
that
there
you
was a
liked.
part. Yeah.
What's the title, Scott? I'm gonna make you remember.
Blue collared,
No,
Pretty close.
blue
Blue Carolina.
Blue Carolina.
And this song is the only
Blue
song that
Carolina.
we played so far. That this is Dan Andriano singing. So this is the bass player singing.
There's just a part if you're listening, like in the 2-minute marker, is just I fucking love that drop.
It's like
that
heavy
bass.
metal. It gets kind of heavy
I was
metal.
like, just stay with that. Just stay with that.
Just
riff.
keep doing
Oh my
that.
god! But it's too heavy for them. It's too heavy. But they like to like trickle it in. You know, they're
Lord.
very
Tease you.
graceful. Yeah,
Tease
with
you
their.
with it.
And then they don't want to get too heavy. Then we're gonna go out into the realm of like a whole different genre
it did
of
pique
music.
my ears when I heard it. I was like,
Yeah, right.
Woo.
Huh?
huh?
I actually went back and rewinded it. And I was like, I hear that
gotta hear this
again. Yeah, it was so fast. It was like 5 seconds. I was like, fuck, it's gone. But yes, follow us. We have more episodes coming up. If you like us getting outside of the metal, let us know. Tell us how we're doing. Let us know if we suck, you know? And let us know how much you like this album, or if you don't. And plenty more to come. We're still on quarantine, people. So everyone out there, stay home, stay safe, and masturbate. All right, let's start this song.
Wash your hands.
Bye, y'all.
It's everything that I can do right now. Do not think about you moving further off with every passing second. Every night of this lonely was kidnapped from my soul. Well, I can hardly wait until I get the sun in your lips go pressing on my skin. Well, I can hardly wait until I feel that thrill in my heart that starts inside your eyes, and the song in my head that burns so good on my tongue. Yes, I will. Yeah, yeah, yes, I will. The night is aging as the sun warms your face. Won't you turn around and stay for good? The air is getting much too cold. I am nervous and anxious, it really counts this time. You know all my favorite singers have stolen all of my best lines. Well, I can hardly wait until I get the sun in your lips go pressing on my skin. Well, I can hardly wait until I feel that thrill in my heart that starts inside your eyes, and the song in my head that burns so good on my tongue. Yes, I will. Yeah, yeah, yes, I will. Someday I'll burn this bed, only 2 feet wide, where I'll hide for the next 17 days. I will ask myself, how badly do I want this? I really want this. Well, I can hardly wait until I get the sun in your lips go pressing on my skin. Well, I can hardly wait until I feel the thrill in my heart that starts inside your